Hello, everyone. How I staying sane driving strangers every day, of course, when I was doing rideshare. The way that I stayed sane with driving strangers was just, I had the right mindset, and I was focused on that mindset, focused on my duty at hand, which was to help people, along with helping each client know where I'm going, how to get there, approximately how much time it would take. I always knew a route and had a backup route. Like if those two routes did not work, I always had the GPS, always communicated. So that's how I stayed sane. And I kind of put myself in their shoes and vice versa. I was like, well, I had already done rideshare prior to me ever doing it as a driver. And I was like, well, when I did rideshare, I was not an issue for no driver. I didn't cause no crazy moments or anything like that. And I'm usually a positive fellow. And so that was my mindset. And I will admit, out of all of the rides that I took, I had about at a max four, minimum two. And those rides weren't really difficult. In fact, two of those rides, from what I recall, two of the individuals had a mental illness issue, which that was nothing that they can control. So, and it's not their fault anyway. And there were strangers like how everyone else was strangers. They just had a situation that was not a problem for me. Um, so I stayed sane just by, I know it's cliche, but I just treated people how they want to be treated. I treated people how I would want to be treated with respect. When I was driving, I will admit, when I did not have clients in my car, I drove one way. When I got clients in my car, I drove a different way. And it just went like that. And that was good for me, helping me stay sane, and for the driver. I did have a few drivers said that I drove too fast, I stepped on the brake too hard. But, everyone's gonna have an opinion. And it wasn't a bad thing. I always said to myself, if I would have did something different, maybe drove slower, drove like Miss Daisy or Miss, they would have had attitude with that. But nonetheless, the way that I continue to stay sane while driving strangers was just communicating with them, sparking up conversations for the ones that wanted to talk. There were some clients that got in my backseat and did not really want to talk, but those were very minute situations. Um, um, the major situations were I had clients that would get in the backseat and they would want to talk. I mean, sometimes you know how a conversation should be one person talking, the other person was talking. There were rides where I was doing a lot of listening because they just was talking happy, which was cool because that mean that I was helping them, being of service to some kind of way, and that I was also learning. And if I wasn't learning, things were being reiterated to me. Because again, as I always say, I don't have all the answers, and I do not know everything. In fact, I know nothing. I don't know anything. So that's how I stay sane. And I just understood that these folks are just like me. They're regular individuals. They're trying to get to where they need to go. They have life situations. You know, life is dealing with them. And life is dealing with him or her in their own way. And in fact, most often than not, what they were going through were as far as like a difficult day or difficult time was way more difficult than what I was going through at my own uh, pace in life. So that always helped me. to stay sane. And then of course, what else helped me to stay sane while I was driving strangers was just knowing the areas where I was going, the time of day. For example, when I would go to the airport, I had no issue with anyone that I picked up from the airport, like none. And I picked up over 800 people from the airport. I didn't have one issue with anyone from the airport. And they were, for the most part, some of them were very talkative. Some of them had a lot of questions. A few of them just wanted to rest due to jet lag. Um, but other than that, driving with strangers every day, how I stay sane, I just understood what the assignment was, and the assignment was to help people. Uh, I kind of told myself that hey, you can get some individuals in your car that may have some kind of hiccup, and the hiccup could be they may have bad hygiene, they may have a mental illness, um, they may want to vent about something, they may get an irate due to work or getting to work late or due to their colleagues, and I kind of had that situation in my mind, like, hey, this is highly possible. That's what I told myself. So when that did materialize, and I had folks, clients, get in the back seat and exhibit different experiences and thoughts, they really wasn't like a stranger after a while. They were just another person that I just met for the first time, and it was almost like somewhat like a family member and a cousin, or a friend or enemy, because enemies talk every now and then, and that's what it was like all across the board. Especially if the commute was more than 5 minutes. By the time I got the client to their destination, it was like I didn't feel as though I knew them. I'm not gonna say that, but however, I will say that I felt like I had understanding of their plight and what they were going through. And this what they were going through wasn't always negative. Sometimes it was positive. Sometimes it was things that were going on in their life, and they said it felt too good, which is interesting. That's just always what I thought. But like I said, the main way that I stayed sane while driving strangers every day at the time was, again, it went back to mindset. It went back to the inverse, putting myself in the client's shoes, understanding that, hey, these are just people just like you. They trying to do what you're trying to do if you were them in the back seat and they were driving you, just trying to get there where they need to go safely, quickly, no shenanigans, no car collisions, and no BS. And that's what I always focused on until the day I stopped doing rideshare. So yes, click the link below and go and get my book. You can get it for yourself. You can get it for a family member or a friend. And if not, you can get it for an enemy. And if you get it for an enemy, it's likely that you all can become associates or even friends. And depending on the nature of the relationship, you all can become lovers. So like, share, and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment. And you all have a good day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.